Chapter 8. Gil did not sleep. He replayed the night over and over, trailing Hammond, the wolf, his argument with Millie. The question they could not answer. Should they tell Master Vale what Hammond had done? Millie ended up storming off. Despite the evidence, Gil couldn't believe Hammond was involved with the mist. Hammond was his friend. Gil knew him, didn't he? He eyed the shorn edge of his cloak. His thoughts bubbled and stewed through the night, fear and friendship fighting. The door opened in the early hours of the morning. Through slitted eyes, Gil saw Hammond enter. He peered at Gil's cloak. His shoulders rose and fell shakily. Hammond watched him for several long breaths before turning to bed, mumbling, "Believe it." Finally, he changed into his pajamas. As he did so, Gil saw 4 stripes torn through his cloak. The same pattern striped Hammond's back. He groaned and lowered himself to his bed. The wound confused Gil. Hammond was undeniably involved with the attack, but why would his own wolf turn on him? They kept their distance the next day. The meals and walks they had shared at the start of the term were over. Gil spent his time with Millie, Ash, and Rhea. His schoolwork swelled, and Gil hardly had time to notice the absence of his roommate. As days turned to weeks, Gil saw no more incriminating activity from Hammond. His roommate slept at a normal time and went to class, it seemed. Hammond did not ask him to bet on the sparring ring in the arena, and Gil did not invite him to the Silver Smoke with Millie. When he asked Millie if she had brought her suspicion to Master Vale, Millie just petted Ash. "I'm afraid of what she would do if she knew." A steam cloud was spotted around the cauldron the following week, and an alchemy student was brought to the ward when her potion caught flame and injured her hand. The next day, a bit of fog passed through the orchard, and people began to mutter about some odd trees, strangely shaped limbs, and stranger fruit. By dinner, the entire school was aflame with rumors. The one thread woven through every story was mist. An enchanter hopped on a table, shouting he knew the precise incantation to counter the mist, if he would lend him a halfer. Others wondered who was behind it, why it was happening. "He's still not looking at us," Millie said at their normal table. Gil eyed Hammond across the room, who was inspecting his apple dully. Gil looked away. He couldn't have done it. Why would his wolf scratch him if he was behind this? Why was he in Slater's Pass? He wasn't there for a cup of cider. She sighed and finished her fruit tart. "This is Hammond we're talking about. We need to trust him. I know you do, or you would have told Master Vale." Millie sighed. "Still, what if we're wrong? What if Hammond is dangerous?" Gil had no answer. The next week brought 2 more mistings, as they came to be known. A smithing student was temporarily blinded by the sparks when the mist touched his anvil. Caution began usurping curiosity. There was excitement amidst the uncertainty. Master Vale announced the snowball to the assembled students on the green one evening. Gil sat with Millie and Ash, Hammond several seats over. They had cautiously begun spending time together again, but things were not as they had been. "The snowball," Master Vale continued, "is the winter dance to celebrate the end of the semester. I hope you find it enlightening and refreshing after your exams. The snowball will be in 2 months, near the first snowfall, if history speaks again. You may bring a partner or friends, and above all, your very best dancing shoes." Gil could not imagine anything so terrifying as a school dance, but he seemed to be one of the few. The mist was nearly forgotten as talk turned to dresses, jackets, cloaks, dates, and dancing. The kitchens were afire with early preparations for the dance. Gil was enlisted to help take inventory of the cellar beneath the kitchen. He learned that at any time the cellar held thousands of potatoes, onions, squash, and more. Unfortunately, it was missing most of the exotic foods and spices Master Drayborn wanted for the dance. Master Drayborn wanted him to comb through the cellar 3 times in search of green honey. Gil found several honey pots, but there was nothing green about them. Frowning, Master Drayborn finally added the Baronese honey to his list. Grant also saw a wave of excitement. Tailors were swarmed. Cobblers hung out their shops, waving boots and slippers at passing students. Even the Smiths saw some business as students ordered fresh clasps and brooches. The snowball's announcement seemed to herald good fortune for everyone, in fact. Gil did not hear of a single missing, and his friendship with Hammond strengthened daily. Even his work in the kitchens was improving, if counting potatoes was better than scrubbing plates. Wilkes alone seemed to grow more frustrated amidst everyone else's good fortune. The stout boy had grown more ill-tempered with each alchemy class, even skipping their last exam on reading recipes. He probably hadn't even heard of the next assignment. As Gil entered the kitchen for his shift, he felt sorry for Wilkes. Garlic and cinnamon washed over him. Master Drayborn was overlooking the room from his usual post, his sharp face pleased. Choppers stood around tables, slicing fruit and cubing vegetables. Tucked back in the corner were the scrubbers. As Gil crossed the room, he saw Wilkes emerging from the cellar, looking stressed. Thinking quickly, Gil detoured to Wilkes. "Hey, I know alchemy has been difficult these last few weeks. I could help you on the project." Wilkes frowned. "What project?" "Sorry, there's another essay for class. Nothing too tricky, but if you—" "I've got all the help I need," Wilkes said fiercely. "Don't need any from you." Gil flushed and joined bunt with the other scrubbers. "It's good to see you again, Gil," the older man said. "Just in time for some water, you are." They went out to the pump. Goosebumps prickled his arms in the crisp air, and the sting in his eyes faded. He let out a long breath. "Why doesn't Wilkes like me?" They dumped the cauldron. "I don't think he likes many people. That usually means not many people like him." Gil tried to understand this as Bunt worked at the pump. "That logic sounds circular." "You pay attention in class." "So I'm right?" Bunt sighed and leaned off the lever. "Wrong as right can be. Keep being good to Wilkes, and he may surprise you." They went inside. Gil thought and scrubbed. Wilkes seemed even more hostile since Gil offered to help with the essay. He piled more dishes by Gil than any other scrubber, and they seemed to be the dirtiest he could find. Gil's arms grew tired from his ceaseless scouring. His fingers looked like old prunes. The next time Wilkes came, Gil smiled. "Thanks, Wilkes. I'm sure Master Drayborn really appreciates all your work here." Wilkes paused. "He does." Gil was talking with Bunt during a rare lull later that shift when Wilkes returned. "Hope you like fish. Boats just came in with the catch." He waved to two scrubbers and nodded to Gil. "Come on." They followed him outside to a wagon of crates. Master Drayborn had opened a crate and was inspecting a dried fish. "Salted salmon. Very good. Wilkes, show them where to stack these in the cellar. I'll have a word with you in a moment." "This way," Wilkes said. Gil and the two girls grabbed crates and staggered after Wilkes. The crates were slimy, as though they had been pulled straight from the river. Something cold and wet trickled down Gil's shirt. Apparently, the fish had been kept on ice at some point, and now the bottom of the crates were filled with fishy water. Wilkes made them stack the boxes on a shelf near the cider barrels, and Gil settled into a trance. Crate, walk, stack. Crate, walk, stack. He seemed to carry dozens of boxes. Fortunately, the wagon was now nearly empty. He used the last of his strength to carry the final box down to the cellar, but when he returned there was a new wagon. His shirt was soaked as he staggered across the kitchen and down the stairs with another box. His arms felt distant and fuzzy. His pulse thudded dimly in his head. He made it several more paces before falling to a knee, exhausted. As he tried to catch his breath, he heard the rumble of distant voices from the cider barrels. He summoned his strength and moved closer. The voices sharpened. "Fish this weekend?" Wilkes asked. "Correct." The voice was Master Drayborn's, low and smooth. "Next week will be soup, I think." "Excellent," Wilkes said eagerly. "Questions?" "No, Master Drayborn." There was a click and grating noise. Gil heard footfalls approaching, and he crouched behind a sack of onions. Master Drayborn strode past him and up the stairs. Gil peeked farther around the corner, but he could not see where they had been talking. Wilkes was gone. His shift ended late, and he left the kitchens with a handful of honey buns for dinner. He froze at the sight of an unlikely scene. Hammond and Millie sat at a table, smiling brightly. It wasn't him, Millie half shouted, half whispered. Gil's heart jumped, and he joined them. What's going on? Hammond met Gil's eyes. For the last 2 weeks, I thought it was you that put that wolf on me. It wasn't, Gil said at once. We were only... He looked at Millie. I already told him, she said, nodding to Hammond. We did follow you down Slater's Pass, but we were only trying to see what you were up to. We didn't really think you and the mist were, well... Hammond took the tail of Gil's cloak and held it up, showing the torn edge. When the wolf attacked, I saw a green scrap in its mouth. It wasn't until I saw your cloak that I wondered if it was you and Millie. But now it seems so obvious. What's obvious? Gil said. It was the other person, Millie said. Whoever ran past us in the alley, right before the mist came. They must have done it. Hammond was nodding. Someone was coming up from the basement when I walked in. They were hooded and carrying something heavy. Must have gone out the door and around the corner toward you two. A weight lifted from Gil as the truth settled in. They were all beaming, thrilled to have their friendship restored. Ash looked between Gil and Hammond, ears perked. Another thought rose, and Gil's smile faded. So there really is someone behind the mist, and each of us saw them in that alley. We're probably the only people in Hazeltop to have seen them. And they saw us, Hammond said grimly. They'll know who we are. We'll need to keep an eye on each other, make sure they don't go for one of us. The realization left a cold stone in Gil's stomach. He looked around the emptying dining room. Any one of these students could be watching them, planning. Did you get a good look at them? Millie asked Gil. He shook his head. All I saw was that old cloak. They were short, though, about my height. We should go back to Slater's Pass, Millie said, see if we can find any clues. Hammond grimaced. Don't think so. Whoever did this is waiting for us to slip into a dark alley. I hate to say it, but we shouldn't go to the pass for a while, not until we know more about the attacker. They sat in silence for a time before Millie piped up. In the meantime, how about we head to the Silver Smoke tomorrow? If someone is plotting my demise, I'd rather have a bit of a tan when I get snuffed. Same, Hammond said. Gil was about to agree when he groaned. I have to finish that essay on distillation. No problem, Hammond said. You can finish it in the morning. I'll go to the egg with you, and we'll meet Millie once you're done. You don't need to wait for me, Gil said. Millie smiled. That's what friends are for.